After managing ads for hundreds of different fitness studios and experimenting with countless ad strategies, I've recently changed my team's entire approach to ad testing. Now, this was not a light decision because changing an entire system from which my team operates is no easy task. However, we ran this new system for 11 different fitness studios, and the results made it blatantly clear that we had to make a change. In this video, I'm going to share a new 7-step system to finding a winning offer, copy, and hook that's quicker and cheaper than any other testing system out there. Just to put things into perspective, it normally costs roughly $30 to test one unique element, and it would take about a day to complete. This new strategy can bulk test 15 to 20 unique elements in the same time for the same cost. The reason this is so impactful is because the more testing you do, the more data you have. And the more data you have, the more you know what your audience wants, and the better your ads are going to perform. Step number 1 is going to be brainstorming your offers, hooks, copies, etc. that you want to test. And so something that I like to do is create these documents where I can come up with a number of different duration program offers. So this can be low barrier, this could be a challenge type offer, but essentially you want to have all the different options that you have available. Now, outside of this, what you also want to do is have a couple different hooks. And so in this case here, 15-day hook program. And so essentially what we want to do here is you replace these with a different style of hook. And so depending on the season, depending on what you want to run, you want to have a number of these different hooks. And so as some examples here, Tone and Sculpt, Core Restore, Hourglass Transformation Program. As we go down here, depending on seasonality, you could do a New Year, New You, Hot for Halloween, Fall Fitness Frenzy. And then you have additional headlines that you could also leverage, which could be something like this, where it's fit and strong in a certain amount of days, shred inches off your waist in however long your program is going to be. You could also have something like tired of being out of breath from walking up the stairs, try our offer. And so you can get pretty creative with this, but the idea here is we want to just brain dump, have as much information on different offers, hooks, headlines, etc. that you want to test. Another good strategy is you take a few ideas that you have. Let's just say I want to basically take these hooks here and come up with more options like this. One of the best AI tools that you can use is Claude. Claude is really great for copywriting, coming up with ad copy, landing page copy, website copy, etc. And so what you could do is you could type in a prompt, something like, I need to come up a few new offer hooks for my Facebook ads. Here are some examples. Okay, and then you want to format this so they understand. And so once you've run the prompt, you're going to get an example like this where you have a list of new hooks that you can potentially run for your offer, hook, or copy test. Step number 2 is going to be developing your color block tests. And so what you're going to do now that you have your offers, your different hooks, you're going to basically combine these into what you want to test to your audience. And so here's a good example. You can create these different color block tests in Canva. And the idea here with the different colors is this is supposed to get people to stop while they're scrolling. The idea here is we're isolating the one variable we want to test, which in this case is going to be the offer and the hook combination. And so you can see here, I have a whole host of different offers. So 14-day Tone and Sculpt program, only $14. I also want to test a 14-day Core Restore program for only $14. And the idea here is you want to create as many different tests as you possibly can to figure out what's going to work. And so some other ideas here is you don't have to just put an offer here. This could also be a different style of headline. For an example, I could put something like this: sick of feeling tired and sluggish, try our blank offer. I could try something like 1,512 plus body transformations and counting. I could try these styles. It doesn't have to be specifically an offer, but what we're creating here are isolated tests focusing on whatever the messaging is that we want to see how our audience responds to. Step number 3 is going to be to actually run this test on Facebook. And so with all the different color blocks that you have set up, with all the different offers and hook combinations, you're then going to run this as a link click campaign on Facebook. Now, the reason this is so powerful is because this is a leading indicator to showcase what your audience actually wants to see. In order to set this up, what you're going to do is you're going to jump into your Facebook account and you're going to create a campaign that has the objective traffic. So you can see it here in this account. I have campaign objective set as traffic. Nothing else is touched in the campaign setup. And then when we go to the actual ad set, what you're going to want to do is set up your targeting to go a 5-mile radius around your location. And so just make sure it's only going to people within your location that will actually become a member at some point or could be. So down here, performance goal, you're going to set this as maximum number of link clicks. Scrolling down here, you only need this budget to be $30 to $20 a day. And the reason this is so impactful is because you're going to get through so many tests so quickly doing this method in comparison to some other testing methods that I've also showed on the channel. Okay, so scrolling down here, audience-wise, as you can see, I went 18 to 55. 8 kilometers, about 5 miles around this location. Okay, so the last change is going to be in placements. So for this particular test, we're only going to be running this to the Facebook feed and the Instagram feed. We're not going to be doing any other placements. So you're going to want to deselect everything aside from those 2 placements. Now, once that's set up, the last thing you're going to do is you're going to build your ads. And so it's a little different than what you normally are going to do when you're building your ads. But in this case here, you're going to want to make sure you select your page, your Instagram account. And then when you actually go to build the ad, you do want to put in your website URL that goes out to a specific landing page that people can take action on. However, keep in mind this testing system is not designed to generate leads. We're just trying to get some leading indicators in order to figure out which direction to go in for our offers. As I scroll down here, you'll notice that there is no copy. And so we leave the copy completely blank in this testing. And then for the headline, you want to keep the headline just generic. And so it could be gym in your location. It could be fitness center. It could be yoga studio, whatever it is. You just want to keep it generic. You do not want it taking attention away from what this test is for, which is to figure out if this offer or another offer is better to move forward with. And so in this case here, you can see this is a 14-day lifting excellence program for $14. Once that's set up, I duplicate it and I add in the next color block. And then we just basically build this out until you have all the different tests that you want to run within this ad set. From this point, once you have all the ads in place and they're ready to go for testing, the last thing you need to do is add rules to turn these off. The last thing you want to do is rules going that are overspending. You want to make sure that they're cut off before they reach the maximum impressions, which is about 400 for each of these tests. So as an example here, if I click on all of these different ads that I just created, click more, create new rule, go to next. This is going to be color block test. Okay, so it's going to apply to these ads. The action is going to be to turn off ads. And so the idea here is we want to turn them off if impressions are greater than 400. As soon as it reaches this, we're going to want to shut these off. And so I'm going to click add. Okay, so if impressions are greater than 400, it's going to turn off the ad. We're going to create that first one. The second one we're going to create is going to be basically a capital preserver. And so we don't want tests going if we know they're going to fail. And so something that we're going to add now is color block test rule number 2. So this is going to turn off ads. And we're going to turn it off if the impressions is greater than 200. We're going to add that. Oops. We're going to add that. And we want to make sure that the cost per click, cost per link click is greater than, usually, now depending on the location and the competition, usually we find about $1.50. At this point, if there's been over 200 impressions and the cost per click is over $1.50, usually these are failed tests. And so we want to shut those off early. We don't need to spend an extra $2 on this test if we can shut it off early because we know it's not going to be a winner. And so that's what this rule is. And essentially, once that is done and you have all those rules in place, you have all the color block tests ready to go, you can launch this and the system is going to automatically turn on and off those ads. Step number 4 is after your ads have all been shut off from your test, you're going to want to analyze your results to decide on the winner. And so how you do that is once the test has concluded, you're going to head into the account and you're going to take a look at the performance and clicks reporting, and you're going to head over into click-through rate. Now, what we're looking at here is which of the offers that we ran has the highest click-through rate out of them all. And so you can see here, color block test 14-day hook number 4 was the winner in this case because it had the highest click-through rate. Now, if you look over here, what's really interesting about this testing system is it only costs $30 to get through all 11 of these tests. That's absurdly cheap if you compare it to what it usually costs, which is roughly $30 per test in order to figure out if it's a winner or not. Now, a quick little bonus is you don't have to stop testing here. In this example here with this account, we actually took it a step further and we then took that offer there, that one, so it was the 14-day hook offer, and we ran a copy test. And so what you can see here is the 14-day weightlifting mastery program was the winner. And you can see here that I added a copy to this next round of testing. So the setup is exactly the same. The only thing we're doing now is we're isolating the copy as the variable. And so you can see here, here's another example. Here's a different one there. And same idea here. Once you run this type of a test, you're looking at what has the highest click-through rate. And what shocked me and what always shocks me is after you run a copy test, you'll notice that there's a significant difference in the click-through rates between different copies. And so this one here, that one had a 0.88% click-through rate versus a 0.38% click-through rate. Now, keep in mind, this is a specific studio that is working with Olympic lifters. And so it's hyper specific to a targeted niche of people. And so for most of you studios out there, your hooks are going to be a lot more general. And so your click-through rates should be a little bit higher. Step number 5, now that we've analyzed our results and we've decided on the winning hook and offer combination, you're then going to run it as a lead generation campaign to prove it. Now, keep in mind this entire testing system, yes, it is fast. Yes, it is cheaper. However, we cannot know if it's actually working unless we test it with a lead generation campaign. And so once we take the winning offer, the winning copy, whatever it is we tested, we're then going to roll it out as a general lead gen ad. And so as an example here for this account, if I hop into the lead ad that we created, just to show you basically the setup here, we created lead objective campaign. This is a lead ad. And so we're basically creating a form on Facebook in order to acquire their information and then pulling it over here. Same exact setup. We have that 5-mile radius we used in the initial testing, except now our performance goal is going to be maximize the number of leads. And the other difference is our placements are going to go back to automatic. We're not going to be restricting it to the Instagram and the Facebook feed. We're going to be allowing it to go to all placements now. Now with this, the only difference is obviously we have to set up our lead generation ads. So as you can see here, I have a number of different ads that have been running for this specific account. Keep in mind, this account is specifically going after Olympic lifters. And so a $19 cost per lead is exceptionally good for this type of account. And so the other thing I will show you here is the creative testing. So once we have all that information for the hook, the offer, that style, we then roll it out into creative testing, which you can see here. We have the winning offer that's associated with the ad. So we took that hook and headline and we added it into the headline here. We took the winning copy here. And then now what we did is we basically created a lead generation ad and are testing different creatives constantly. And so what you'll see here is we have, the copy that won the initial test. We have the headline here that won in that color block test. And then scrolling down here, we have also included a lead form. So we'll go to the destination. And so you can see we also put that headline in here for the lead generation. And this is now generating leads for roughly $19. And some of the winners of these copies right now are generating $10 and $14 leads, which is exceptionally good for this account. Step number 6 is to make sure that this offer is actually converting people onto memberships. So the best way to do this is to track every stage in your funnel. Just because you're generating leads does not mean the campaign is working if it's not actually getting people to book, show up, and purchase a membership. And so just make sure that you have your follow-up systems dialed in, because if you have a low booking rate, you might think that it's a quality problem, and in reality, it might be a follow-up issue. And so this is what we do in our systems in order to track a client's journey. So the first thing we do is we pull all the leads that are coming through the funnel into an Excel sheet. This is also information that is in our software that we use, which is Go High Level. And so it basically ports in all the different leads into this Excel sheet. Our team handles all the communications with most of our clients. And so we're tracking to see, how well are we able to book people onto appointments? How well are we able to get people to show up to the studio? And then of course, how well are the studio owners able to convert their trialers onto memberships? And with that information, we're able to make decisions about, is it the quality of the leads? Are we attracting the wrong types of people with the creatives? Is it the actual offer that's attracting the wrong types of people? And make adjustments based on that information. Okay, so looking at their stats here, we can see in April, they had 123 leads. They had 102 responses, 42 bookings, 26 shows, and 3 sales. I can also see the stats here on the right that shows me the percentage of people actually replying to messages, the amount of people actually booking, so 34%, 62% show up rate, and then a 12% membership conversion rate. And so after looking at all these stats, what I can clearly see here is that there is an issue with conversions. If I actually scroll to the bottom of this page here, this summarizes from January 1st, 2025 up until December, and we can see we have 695 leads, 606 that actually engaged, meaning they replied to an email or text message, 286 booked, 170 showed for their appointments, and 32 closed on the sales. That indicates to me a 19% closing rate, which is a big red flag. Without this stat, I wouldn't be able to sit down with the owners and have a constructive conversation about how we can fix this specific problem. Looking at all the other stats, we're hitting right within our KPIs that we're looking to aim for. The biggest problem right now is that we're not converting enough people onto memberships. And this is exactly why it's important for us to be able to identify week-to-week stats in order to see trends that are happening and in order to be able to identify problems that need to be fixed. You can also see in April that our booking rate ended up at 34%, which is not as good as the previous month's worth of bookings. Now, as you can see, it's looking like it's trending down up into May right now, although it's too early to tell, but we'll start to see if this continues to be a problem and if we need to do anything about it. So make sure you have something that's going to track this type of information. And step number 7 is going to be to scale or to reset your offer. Now, if things are working, you're getting a lot of people in the studio, you're converting a lot of people onto memberships, then what you're going to work on doing is scaling the ad spend. And so what we typically recommend is going up by 20 to 30% of your ad spend every 3 days so that you don't mess with the algorithm. If you bump the budget by too much, you can throw the algorithm off, it goes back into testing, and then your ads start to flop and not work anymore. And so the best thing you can do to scale is just bump your budget by 20 to 30% up until you see your ad costs start to fluctuate or your cost per lead gets too high that it doesn't make any more sense to increase your budget. What we typically see is at around $100 to $120 a day is pretty well a cap before your cost per lead gets extremely high where it's not worth it. Now, of course, full disclosure, this does depend on the size of your audience. If you're in an area in which there's only 30,000 people, then scaling to about $100 to $150 a day is not really worth it because you're going to fatigue that audience so quickly at that price point that it just doesn't make sense. And on the flip side, if you have an audience that's around 300,000, you can absolutely scale to $100 or $120 a day without any problems. Now, if things don't work out at all and the ad testing system leads you to run an offer that just completely flops, what you need to do then is reset everything, go back from square one, and try it all again. So if you're looking for a more cost-effective and fast way to do testing to figure out what your audience and your location actually wants to see versus copying everybody else doing all the same stuff, then this strategy is definitely for you. I hope you guys found this video helpful, and if you did, please leave it a like and subscribe to the channel if you want to see more information on how to grow your fitness studio.